Today we're going to share with you the actual strategies and techniques we use to create, promote, and enhance public relation campaigns. The techniques and strategies that have proved so effective where we've gotten 80% increase in brand awareness and credibility and trust over paid ads, where we got 90% increase in sales over paid ads, where we got 550% return on investments. Now, if you're a startup, an early stage company, or a company that just basically has limited resources, this is important to you. You should know this. You have to get results with very little to work with. And we're going to give you those techniques and strategies today. Why? Because marketing matters. I'm Bill Arnold. I'm president of Prevail Marketing. Every single day we give you a video on how to grow your business by doing better sales and marketing. And I love it when we can talk about actual techniques and strategies, things we've used. Why? Because I know they work. I know they'll be valuable to you because they've been valuable to us. We're going to share this with you. And the only thing we ask is basically you think about the law of reciprocity. What is the law of reciprocity? If we give you something valuable, something that is meaningful to you, then you're more inclined to do something we ask. And what are we going to ask you to do? 3 things. Very simple. Like and subscribe to this channel. That's number 1. And then, after you watch it, take a minute to go to prevailmarketing.com and check us out. We got a lot of material there, a lot of ways to help you. I think you'll find it very valuable. So let's start talking more about how to enhance your public relations, how to grow your business by doing it better. Now, if you question what that means, if you haven't watched our video from yesterday where we shared the benefits of a good PR program, where we shared the actual strategies that you can use, because it's just much more than just press releases. If you haven't seen that one, do yourself a favor, pause this video. We'll be here when you get back. But go to that video, it's on prevailmarketing.com, watch it. It's the foundation for this one. It is important you understand the benefits and some of the strategies because it's much more than just doing press releases, I promise you. And it works. So let's get started. How do you develop a PR program that works, that gets results, as we talked about? First thing you must do, determine the objectives of the campaign. I mean, you need to know what you think you're going to do, and more importantly even more important than how you're going to do it sometimes, is what results you anticipate receiving. You need to know what that outcome looks like, what success looks like. You need to decide what those overall metrics, is it increase in brand awareness? Is it ROI? Is it selling certain products? What is it you're trying to accomplish? Mitigating a problem? And you have it attached to actual numbers, not just a general feeling. It should be actual items that you can measure and test. Why? Why do you need to do this? Well, first off, you should never do any marketing program of any type unless you can actually say in the start, I anticipate these are the results we're going to get, and these are the intermediate KPIs to get there. You need to know that. Otherwise, you're just doing marketing for marketing's sake, throwing something at the wall, hoping it works. And when there's lots of possibilities of doing a million different things in marketing, you need to do the things that are going to get the best results, that are most meaningful for your brand and your company. And unless you know the results before you start, you're just flailing in the wind. Now, how do you know those results? Well, if you haven't done it before, it's really difficult. If you've done it 1,000,000 times, exaggeration, no one's done it 1,000,000 times, you've done it 10,000 times, you kind of know before you enter. It's more than just an educated guess. It's a predictable number because you've done it. You anticipate it based upon what your track record of success. Now, if you don't have that track record of success, if you can't guess what those numbers are going to be in an educated fashion, not just throwing stuff at the wall, then maybe that's a sign you better be getting some help to start with. Get an agency, get a fractional CMO, get somebody who's done there, been that, and has battle scars to prove it to help you out the first few times. Yes, it's going to cost you a little bit, particularly as a fractional CMO. But the benefits you're going to get is results from that campaign. Maybe he'll say, don't do that campaign. You're going to get results when he does it, or she does it, excuse me. And it's going to teach you how to do it and what to anticipate. So you can do it on your own in the future. You won't need them. You'll be that expert. Don't enter it and don't try it unless you know the results going into it. We'll get to more about that later. Know your audience. Oh, God, every time I talk to people, I say, you know what? Who are your buyer personas? What message do they need to see? And where they go for information, entertainment, and third-party education. And sometimes they bat their eyes at me and say, what do you mean? Well, if you don't know what value buyer persona is, I'm going to tell you right now. You can go to our website. We got a couple articles on that. There's actually a new book coming out by Del Ravella. She's the godmother of buyer personas. This woman basically set the stage. Buyerpersona.com is her website. She's retired now. She came out of retirement to add to her book, Buyer Personas. It hasn't been released yet, but when it does, I'm going to get it. I'll report on this channel what the new features are, what the new ideas are. I mean, I'm a firm believer you need to know your buyer personas. And if you haven't bought her books, consider buying it. I'm going to give you a link in future videos, or future blogs. But you have to know your audience. And why is that so important? When you issue a press release or you issue any PR content of any type, you need to know whether that's going to resonate with the end user, whether that's going to be meaningful to them and valuable to them. Otherwise, how are you going to get the results we talked about? You also need to know what channels to release it in, where they go for information, education, and entertainment. If they don't go to those channels to release it in, they're not going to see it. So you need to know that up front to make sure those channels are served. The next thing you need to do, and you should have done this a long time ago before you even start thinking about doing any public relations, is build relationships with journalists and influencers. These are the people who are going to share the information you create. They're going to take that information and share it with their reach, share it through their publications, share it through broadcast media, share it through their social channels. It's important that you create a list, have a list, a media list of public relations, of PR professionals, influencers, of journalists, people that you know you've worked with before. You could say this particular article about this industry is going to be relevant to that journalist and those influencers. And that's how I'm going to start sharing this. I'm going to promote it starting with them. That means you have to cultivate relationships well in advance, by giving them other articles, giving them other information so they understand you're trustworthy, you're credible. When you give them something, it makes them feel, it works for them, it helps them. They're always looking for content, but they're looking for content from people they can trust, who are reliable, who provide them credible information, credible stories. So only 8% of pitches received get published in an article. And they only talk to 2.3% of the people who actually try to talk to them. So if you want to get your article shared by them, published by them, you need to build relationships in advance. If you haven't done that, again, if you're starting out, this is another telltale sign. You need help. You can create the great piece of content, say I need to publish it in these 5 publications: Wall Street Journal, Chicago Tribune, LA Times, New York Times, Squawk Box. I want it to go all these places. And if you have an inroad to it, good luck. Unless it's something that's so trending and so compelling, so needed right now, it's not going to happen. So build those relationships. If you haven't done it, get the help of a fractional CMO, fractional Chief Growth Officer, or an agency to help you with the first few. Once you make connections with that person through them, now you have a connection. Now you can do it on your own. Next thing is create compelling content. And there's a lot more to it than what you just think, because you have to address the needs of both the journalist and the ultimate reader. What do I mean by that? Journalists prefer data-driven reporting. Information that's concrete, that's solid, that reveals the patterns and issues about an industry or a company or a brand. Why is that important? 68% of journalists approve original research, it has to be original, that has data-driven information. In fact, over 30% of journalists will only consider a pitch if it has data-driven information about an industry, a pattern, or a trend affecting a brand. So again, if you want to get something there, you have to meet that threshold. You have to get something that they're willing to share. That's number 1. Number 2, got to remember who the ultimate reader is. Most ultimate readers don't really care that much about statistics or information that's presented in a bland fashion. You need to be a storyteller. You need to tell a story about, craft a story that engulfs and encompasses all that data, but does so in a compelling way. So people will do more than just read it. They'll remember it. People tend to remember stories at a 68% higher rate than they do just raw statistics or raw facts. So you have to be a really good storyteller, crafting a really good story about facts, statistics, and numbers. let's say you get it published. You did it, man. You got on the Wall Street Journal, you got into the Chicago Tribune, the LA Times, the New York Times, you got on Squawk Box, you got on several different other news stories. NBC News, Morning News, Today's Show. You managed to get this pushed in a number of sectors that you know your target audience pays attention and listens to. Congratulations. You should go out, celebrate, and then get to work because you just started the process. This is not the end, it's the beginning, or at least the middle, because you need to amplify what was published. You need to make sure that you take that story and you blow it up so it comes across a lot of different social platforms, a lot of different additional media. And you're going to help doing that. But you have to be the impetus to start. And how do you do that? Anytime any journalist or any publication says something about you, shares something about you, publish something for you, you need to republish that across all your social platforms and actually tag them. Not only the publication, but the journalist in question. You need to tag them. If you use an intermediary or somebody who basically sourced the story for a journalist, tag them. Why? Everybody likes to be appreciated. Everyone likes to see that something they did is recognized. They're more likely to pick up your next story if you illuminate that in this story. That's number one. Number two, you should have a bank of influencers. Remember you did your homework up there, you got influencers, and sometimes you'll get some top tier subject matter influencers sharing it because it's great content and they want to be part of that story. They want to be relevant. But you just can't rely upon that these top tier subject matter influencers are going to do that. You have to create your own success. So you get the next level of influencers who basically are trying to reach that pinnacle where they could decide what they publish and don't publish. And you need to cultivate them. And you need to build a relationship with them. So you can say, look, I've got this story coming out. It's published. Please share it across your social reach, which just happens to be the same people we're targeting. Again, it's going to be more credible coming from them than it is from you, which is why I did PR and went through a journalist in the first place, right? Number three, this just absolutely saddens me many times because nobody takes attention to the employees. You have a whole group of people who will be sharing your information, are sitting there, and maybe the senior management, maybe even some of the mid-tier management shares it because they understand the value to the company and they understand the value to them. But you've got all your employees who are not sharing your content. You need to set up a system where they, not every time, but when you have something that's highly impactful, highly relevant, maybe a piece of PR material that's been in the Wall Street Journal or elsewhere, you need to be able to activate them so they share it as well. How do you do that? Well, first thing, you have to get them on all social platforms. And you encourage that by incentivizing them. What incentivize them? Hey, here's a 25 gift card for everyone who gets an account on all these platforms. Boom. Okay. Now you're on the platforms. They're ready to go. They're at the starting gate. You got a great story. You want to promote it. You go to them and say, look, this particular story, we would like you to share across all your social reach. If you comment on it better, if you like our thing better, do all these different things. We're going to reward you. Maybe you can reward them with a small $25 gift card. Maybe you can have a contest. Maybe you can say the one who has the best comment, the best way they reshared it, gets even a bigger prize. Incentivize them. Otherwise, why should they do it for you? It's not their company. It is, but you understand. So incentivize them and they'll do this. Why? And someone said to me, why does it matter? I got a kid just fresh out of college. He has no industry connections. His friends and families, maybe a few professors, follow him. Why does it matter what he shares? Well, let's think about it. You don't know who's going to see that. Maybe there is a professor who follows him, who happens to, have influence. Maybe he can help you somehow. Maybe there is a father of a person who shared it who might be an analyst, or might have investors who might be interested in your product, your service, your brand. You don't know who's going to see it. And the only way you can get the benefit of it, if you have them do that, it may amount to nothing. But oftentimes, many times, it pays big results. So activate your employees for amplification. Next thing you need to do, and you should be doing this all along, this has not been in any particular order, is monitor your industry and competitors. Now, I'm not talking about just doing Google alerts. You need to do that. I'm not talking about just daily reading the news. You need to do that, obviously. All those are basic, foundational. But you need to use AI, artificial intelligence, to monitor keywords, monitor competitors, monitor trends, monitor legislation, monitor things that are important to your client. Know what's going to happen. Know where things are going. Why? Because you need to be able to react fast. Maybe proactively, maybe retroactively, but you need to act fast. Why is that important? How is that important? I want to point out a trend that's happened recently. It's called fastertising. Fastertising. I think I said it right. This is where something happens in the media, even in another commercial, and another company picks up on it because it's trending, it's newsworthy, and they get a lot more lift, a lot more amplification than they otherwise would. Ryan Reynolds is a master of this. Ryan Reynolds, Peloton, they had a commercial a while back where a woman was given a gift of a Pendleton because I guess the inference was she's out of shape, she needs to get better shape, and he gives her this, and the industry took great people in the community, people in the audience took great offense to this. Said, "How dare you? Your wife is not fat, she's not overweight, and you're giving her this thing to be better for you." Well, first off, I just want to say this for the record: anyone who wants to buy me a Pendleton, anybody out there, I will not take offense. Send it my ways. I'll thank you. Don't worry about offending me. You can even call me overweight if you want. I don't care. I'll take it. But in this case, he took advantage of the fact there was an uprising. A lot of people, particularly women, were offended by this. So what he did, very, very clever, he has a product called Aviation Gin. Very short time afterwards, maybe just a month later, maybe a couple weeks, there was a commercial, fully broadcast commercial, with this woman sitting in a bar. She's lamenting the fact her husband had the audacity to give her this gift for a holiday. And I don't know if she's getting divorced or just lamenting it, but the idea was that she's drinking away her sorrows for Aviation Gin, the only thing that understands her. Well, again, great. Ryan Reynolds got a great lift on this because it was fast, responsive to something that was trending. And you can do that for PR. Something that responds fast, reactive like that. Be the first there, you'll get that lift. Now, again, just for the record, if anyone does give me Pendleton, I will not only accept it graciously, I will also celebrate it with a bottle of Aviation Gin. So, Ryan Reynolds, you want to send me that? We're good. I'll even like Green Lantern, okay? Yeah, I went that far. So, again, guys, do your homework. Make sure you understand what's happening. Get the right tools. If you don't have it, hire an agency, hire someone who can do that, or pick up the tools yourself. Next thing you'd have to do, I'm getting to the end, is measure results. I told you before you need to know the final objectives. I also said you have to know the intermediate KPIs. Why? Because if they're not getting the results you want, you have to morph, you have to modify, you have to adapt, you have to adjust. I don't care how great your expectations are, how seasoned you are. Nothing ever turns out exactly like you think. Sometimes it's exceptionally better than what you thought would happen. Sometimes you're starting to trend less. And you don't sit back there and say, damn it, I guess this one didn't work. No, that's when you go to work as a marketer and morph, modify, adjust, tweak it to make sure it comes out the way you anticipated. That's where you get your real success as a marketer. So let's talk about the KPIs I'm talking about. Now, I already told you we measure 400 KPIs every single month for every single client here at Prevail Marketing because we never guess. We know, we understand, and we can use this as making adjustments, determinations to make sure we know we're getting to the final results. Now, I know nobody tracks 400 KPIs for every customer, but we do because that's how we prevail. But there's some special KPIs you need to track when you're doing public relations. These are a few of them right here. Media impressions. This is a calculation that told the audience it's a good benchmark to the width and breadth of the campaign you're running. The share of the voice. The share of your voice compared to what your competitors are getting out there on a particular keyword, topic, or subject. What share is talking about you? That's important. You want to be the leader. So you have to monitor this. Determine what they're using, how you're going to adjust, how you're going to improve. Key message inclusion. Is your message in your bylines, is that being included across social platforms or in media coverage? Is your targeted media secured? I told you, when you go out there, you say, I want these 10 publications. That's 5, but twice, that's 10. Are these 10 publications? I want them to pick up this article because that's where my buyer personas read or listen to or watch. The target media secured is basically a list of how many of them actually picked it up. 10%, 20%, 100%. It's a good measure of how well you did your homework up front, how well you prepared an article that had data in it, subject matter information in there that was relevant to an industry or trend or a brand. Something that a journalist want to pick up. How well you did homework building that relationship with that journalist. It's all indicative of your upfront work. Is that content compelling? Test that, monitor that. The other is amplification score. The amplification score is the number of times in the reach your article is amplified on social media. This is critical. It tells you whether you did your homework in setting up your relationships with the influencers and with your employees and with your company is doing the right job of amplification. This is some of the basics of being best practices for public relations. I've talked for 20 minutes. I'm going to end it right here. If this has been valuable to you, please like, please subscribe, and please share. And please come back tomorrow. Thank you. Have a good night.